This episode of The Unwashed Asses is brought to you by patreon.com/0and09. If you enjoy anything of what I do, be it The Unwashed Asses, Zero Lives, maybe a little bit of the Friday Night Smite, or whatever content I throw up on the website, head over to patreon.com/0and09. Consider throwing in $1 or $2. Helps keeps the shows going, makes things better, and overall makes everybody very happy. Welcome to Zero Lives, episode 10, recorded Thursday. We're back on Thursdays, April 6, 2017. I'm your host, Christian. You know this, though. I don't know why I keep doing a dumb intro like that, but it is what it is. It's been gone away 2 weeks, though. I feel like every episode now begins with me apologizing because I'm having a hard time sticking to my schedule. And long-time listeners here will know my reasons, my excuses that I work 2 jobs, I'm tired, and when I come home and have to work on my own projects, I get demotivated, unmotivated very quickly. It sucks. I've noticed in the past couple weeks that I have been effectively just running on like an autopilot where I leave at 7 in the morning, I get home at 8 o'clock at night, and I just have no oomph to do anything. I'm barely even, most nights I don't even think I've been making dinner. I sit on my couch for about an hour, and then I go to bed. It's been awful, and I have all these projects that are piling up, but I know I say it week after week after week. No more! I'm gonna get better about this and figure out a schedule that works. So, I don't know. Today I actually had the motivation. Let's get up, let's get a lot of shit done. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna start off with the Unwashed Asses. Had a lot I wanted to talk about. And then the way I typically work is that I have a hard time remembering things, so I write it all down. I typically keep one note on all of my devices, but with my phone, I had been using Microsoft's Arrow Launcher, which has a little... Essentially, if I swipe right, I have a screen that allows me to write in tasks and check them off as I complete them, and I've been using it for show topic ideas. So I had 3 or 4 written down in there, and then wouldn't you know it, what's today? Thursday? So Tuesday, my phone finally fucking died. I was pretty fucking upset about it. What happened was everything was going fine with it. I was using it to listen to some music as I was driving back to the office, and get to the office and do a quick test I needed to do, and then I was back on the road. At that point, I noticed that the phone had turned off, or at least I thought it had turned off. So I go to turn it back on, and the typical boot sequence is I'll get the Google screen, and then it'll pop up with some colorful icons that will go to Android, and then finally the phone will start up. Well, when it got to the Google screen, it went ahead and just freaked the fuck out, where the letters were all distorted, like it hadn't finished fully loading, and then it went ahead and rebooted. And it kept doing this over and over again. I'm like, shit, because I don't keep a case on my phone. I usually keep them, stock, don't do anything extra or fancy or protective with them because I like to take care of my stuff. And anytime you put like a screen protector on it, I feel it hampers the responsiveness, and then they just all feel weird. And the phone's already good size enough as is. If you throw a case on top of it, it's just like, I like being able to use my phone with one hand. I have a tablet that I use with 2 hands. I don't want that experience on my phone. So I couldn't think of anything that had really happened to the phone. It didn't get wet. I haven't dropped it, nothing like that. So why would it start freaking out? Especially like it was working 15 minutes beforehand. What happened? It had been in my pocket the entire time, and not even like pants pocket, front or back. It was sitting in a vest pocket. So there's nothing that could have happened to it. So I have to rely on troubleshooting methods I've long since forgotten, and get the phone into the fast boot mode. So I go ahead and shut the phone down through that, and then go ahead and try to start it back up. At this point, phone comes up. I'm able to get back in and text the girlfriend, say, "Hey, I think my phone's dying, but I might be okay here." I arrive on site to my next job, and then as soon as I unplug my phone, I notice, oh crap, it's dead again. Is it a thing where it just needs to be charged? I don't know. So I keep fiddling with it while I'm on the job and trying to get it to come back up, but it's not doing it. The furthest it'll get now is to every once in a while it'll get to the part where the colorful screen starts to load up, and then that freaks out just like the Google start screen does. It's like, shit, it's broken. I'm trying to look up answers on my work phone and find out what's going on, and then I find this is a known issue with this particular model. The Nexus 5X supposedly has an issue with heat sensors where they break randomly, and there's no recovering from it because it is a hardware failure. I did, just for the sake of troubleshooting, because I know I'm going to have to warranty the phone, run through all the troubleshooting methods provided on the forums, and sure enough, it's all pointing to this particular error. And freaking out at this point because I'm fucking poor. I can't afford to go out and get a new phone. And then complicating that matter is the fact that because I'm on Project Fi through Google, I can only use a handful of phones that will work with the carrier. So it's going to be like the Nexus or the Pixel. That's it. I can't even go to like Walmart and pick up a $50 burner phone, throw my SIM in, and get it to work. That's not how this goes. I have to get one of those phones. And while they're relatively cheap compared to other phones, I don't have that extra cash laying around. I did spend last week overhauling my budget and figuring out a plan to get out of debt and actually have money in the bank account. But that was just last week. I have the plan put in place, and now I'm finally able to get it put in motion. But I don't have an extra $300, sad as that sounds, for a 32-year-old man, to go throw into a phone in an emergency situation. So, get home, and I had been letting the phone charge the rest of the day, and it still wasn't coming back up. So, go ahead and contact Project Fi support. Like, hey guys, here's what happened. I know I'm right around that year mark where I got the phone. I don't know if you can cover it under warranty or if it's even still in warranty. What can we do here? At this point, Shanice, I think her name was, probably not even real name, but their support says, well, if you run through all the troubleshooting methods, yes I have, here's what I've done, XYZ, all that, and find out that the phone is in fact out of warranty, but they're going to go ahead and honor it anyway. They don't explain why. I don't ask. I just okay, you're the best person ever, thank you. Let's go ahead and get the phone back on its way. And what's super nice is, one, they honored a warranty which had expired, and then two, they were going to do next day shipping on it. So that was Tuesday at like 8 o'clock at night. The order, despite me bungling a few things up, did get processed, and now today's Thursday. I'm eagerly awaiting my replacement phone to get here to get it set up and going. It's kind of shitty that I realized a couple things, only being like a little over 24 hours without a phone. One, I have two-factor authentication on all of my accounts, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to get all that re-enabled on my new phone. I've had to do it in the past. It sucked, but I was able to do it. So it's going to be a project to get everything up and running and back into all of my accounts. Um, Two, I'm not worried about losing contacts because I have them essentially synced between two different services. So as soon as I get signed into those services on my phone, then I'm up and running. The problem is going I noticed was I don't outside of like text messages, I don't keep in contact with people on the regular through different services. I have a smattering of people on like Discord or Skype, and then I don't even have like everybody's email address. Not that everybody checks their email because I don't know. Like I don't receive personal emails anymore, and I don't send out personal emails. It's like letter writing. It's a lost art form. So I realized this as was trying to contact my girlfriend. Like we don't talk outside of text messages. We don't even like call each other on the phone. It's and most of you think, well, that's kind of normal, but that's the thing. Like we live 40 minutes apart, and our work schedules are so fucked up that we don't see each other but maybe once or twice a week, and text messages are definitely the way we keep in touch. But so I send off an email like, hey, my phone's dead, and then of course no reply because nobody checks email except for like, oh, I placed this order on Amazon, or here's my electric bill. Then I realized, well, I have her as a friend on all these other services like Steam or Battle.net, and um, that wasn't working. So then, like, all right, well, last ditch effort, let's go ahead and fire up Skype. And finally, that went through. But I noticed it made me realize that there's no real backup way to get in touch with somebody if your phone dies and if you can't do text messages. I know, like. Um, with the iPhone, they can tie it into their messaging system, so you could use it on like a Mac. But I would like to have a way of tying in like SMS, a messaging system into like let me connect it through Skype or Google Messenger and be able then to go onto my computer and say, hey, just in case you're trying to get a hold of me, my phone's dead, so I can't text. But because the messaging system is linked to this other application, we can still stay in touch. And boom, everybody's happy, everybody's in contact. But I don't know, it sucks, but I don't talk to people anyway, so I don't know what I'm really bitching about. It's fuck. Yeah, I'm staring depression in the face again. So it's like I woke up with pep this morning, like, oh, I'm gonna get all this stuff done. I'm in a good mood, and then something happened. I sat down at the computer. I have my headphones on. I'm ready to record, and then I start going down a rabbit hole. It's like I don't know. It's difficult to just I don't know. I need to stop thinking about it and start talking about other stuff. So, phone died. That sucked. And then apparently I made a little bit of a debacle of not debacle. And see, this is the problem here. My mind is going 10 million miles an hour about why I suck and why nobody likes me and why nobody's going to listen to this show. And I need to just kind of work past that and focus on doing the show. So yesterday at work, I had we had a company-wide meeting, and not company wide as far as like everybody because I work for a very large company, but three of the local offices had to meet up, and we had a kind of like a little regional meeting going over some changes and all that. And typically what happens when we have these meetings is there'll be like Dunkin' Donuts and juice and coffee and all that. And per my usual, I showed up right when the meeting is starting, so I didn't even have like the 10 minutes beforehand. Like, oh, let me go grab a couple donuts and an orange juice, and I'll sit here and listen to this PowerPoint presentation. But fortunately, they always go kind of overkill as far as the donuts are concerned. There's way more than what people will eat there, and it worked out that with my budget, what I've been trying to do is keep myself on point as far as not eating out, because that's definitely my biggest detractor. I spend pretty much all my extra money on fast food, so I've been very diligent as far as what I'm making all my meals now. As far as I'm gonna make breakfast, lunch, dinner. The worst I'll let myself get is like the TV dinners. So it saves a ton of money, but at the same time, I get tired of eating the same stuff repeatedly. Even like my favorite meal is like macaroni and tuna. I love the meal, but when it comes to having to eat it like 3 nights a week, I can't do it. I hate it, and I feel the call to like, oh, just drive down the road, go hit up the Burger King, but no more fast food, and it sucks and it's hard. But the reason I go down that tangent is with the donuts. Like, oh sweet, I've got my bologna and cheese and my yogurt and my boring lunch that I've been eating for the past 2 weeks. Let me go ahead and grab a few extra donuts because I didn't eat breakfast because I knew we were having donuts this morning, and then I'll grab some for lunch. Well, I go ahead and I pile up like 5 donuts, like 2 for breakfast and then 3 to eat throughout the day. And as I'm going to walk out the door, 2 of my coworkers, they see like my pile of donuts. They're like, "Why don't you just take one of the boxes? There's tons of them sitting there." And I'm like, "No, it's fine. I don't need a box. Because at that point, I know what they're thinking as far as like, well, take all these like consolidate boxes, like take all the ones that are in an existing box, put them in another one, and then put the ones you want in that box. Take it, go." And for whatever reason, I'm getting a lot of hassle about this. It's like, it's fucking donuts. I have them on a napkin. In 30 seconds, you're not even going to see me. Just let me get out to my truck and go. But I get stopped by a couple different people. It's like, just go put it in a box, take an extra box, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, fine, fuck it. I'll take the extra box. I open just some random box, like, oh, this looks good. Throw in the 5 donuts that I already have. Close the box, and then start walking out. And then all of a sudden I start getting shit like, you can't take all those donuts. What are you doing? That's crazy. You're going to get so fat. It's like, you told me to take a fucking box. I'm taking a box. And then, yeah, I have to go walk past a parking lot full of 30 other employees, and they're yelling, you're going to get fat. Don't take all those donuts. And it's like, take the box. Don't take the box. There's no winning, and everybody hates Christian. But yeah, it's too much of a good thing. Like, I'm staring at the box of donuts sitting on my counter. It was a nice little treat yesterday, like, because it was raining and cold, and I was working outside, and I hated it. So, like, every time I'd wrap a job and then go sit in my truck, like, oh, hey, I've got a little donut here. But by the end of the day, I probably had eaten like 7 donuts, and I felt like a huge piece of shit. So then I was craving something bland, like something not loaded with sugar. So when I got home and I made myself some more mac and tuna, I'm like, oh, this is good. So this morning I'm torn. Do I want to continue? Like, I have a box of donuts. There's like 5 or 6 still sitting there. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, and it's like, do I do the quick easy thing and make myself sick with more donuts? Do I make my 42A chest bigger, try and push into a B cup, or do I do what I need to do with eating some oatmeal? So I don't know. The oatmeal's sounding really good because I'm burned out on sugar, and that's a good thing because yeah, I'm a fat piece of shit. I'm working on not being a fat piece of shit. Holy shit! I realized I said zero lives at the beginning of the show. It's the unwashed asses. You're listening to the unwashed asses. I have too many projects. But that's actually getting recorded after I'm done recording this, and going back into my phone being dead because I have two-factor authentication enabled. I can't get back into my Twitch accounts because I switched between two different accounts. One's my personal account, and then I use one for the Whore of Cactus streams for Smite. And as soon as I sign out of the HOC one and then try to get back into mine to record a show, it's like, nope, gotta verify it, and I can't do that. So I've been locked out, but I'm fairly confident I'm still signed in on the Xbox. So we're gonna go ahead and their streams aren't gonna be what I typically like doing as far as with the background and show title and the chat, but oh well, it is what it is. And I need to figure out a schedule as far as so I'm trying to still cram everything in on Thursdays, but again, I work literally all day from Sunday through Wednesday, and so when Thursday comes around, I'm like, you've been busting your ass, Christian. You should take a little break, take a few hours to yourself. And what happens is I binge the entire first three seasons of Avatar, and then restart on Legend of Korra. And it's like, you haven't done anything. You've not put out a show in weeks, and you're a piece of shit. This is why nobody likes you. And then I start going down that depression rabbit hole. I'm stagnating. But that being said, holy shit! Like, the first season of Avatar is like, I love that series in its entirety, but rewatching it, the first season's a little hard to get through. As far as it's definitely very childish, and they're not progressing the story near as much. It seems to be like a different adventure a week type of deal. And then once the second season kicks off and they start working in towards like the Earth Kingdom and we're introduced to Toph, then it starts picking up momentum and going. And then the third season is just astoundingly good. I don't think I've ever seen the fourth season, though, because when I watch it, I just do it through Amazon Prime, and they only have the first three seasons of both Avatar and Korra. And I know there's a fourth season of each, but I haven't. I don't pay for seasons. Netflix kind of ruined me on that as far as like, well, I'm not going to pay to watch something. I'm just going to wait for. I'll gladly be like a year behind to watch it. And for whatever reason, Nickelodeon's never released those fourth seasons for streaming for free. So I don't know that I'll ever watch them because I don't like pirating. I don't do the illicit means, but now that I think about it, there's a device a customer introduced me to last week called a Nextbox or a Nextbox. Let me pull up the Amazons. In my old man speech, the Amazons, like the Google and the YouTube. Let's see here. It's it like the concept of it sounds extremely illegal. Okay, so it's called a Next box, and what it is it's a little set-top box, like about the size of a Roku, that runs a version of Android, and what it does is it will stream. Is essentially works with torrents. You go ahead and type in the movie or the show you want. You find a torrent for it. You download it, and then you watch it. And it just seems incredibly illegal. But I guess the counter argument is that it's totally legit because you're not the one who's actually pirating the show. I don't know. The customer explained it weird, but you're downloading what's been put up. But if you're going by that logic, then people who use sites like LimeWire and BearShare and Napster and all that, they were still being punished because they were downloading the music illegally. So I don't know how this box is being sold. I don't know. Maybe I've got OneNote open. Let me go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and add in some show notes here. Oh dear God. Rabbit hole. Rabbit hole. Anybody, I don't know, if you listen to the first episode, I go into that the show was initially started with somebody else, and I'm seeing their signature all over my OneNote because we were working on it together. Let's see here. So, next box research. Okay. So next week I'll delve into that and we'll cover it a little bit. But I mean, I guess that would be an option. And the things they're dirt fucking cheap. Like you can get one for like, they have a couple different versions, but like the cheapest one I'm seeing is like $40. That's not terrible. That's not terrible at all. But yeah, it's essentially just like a little set-top box that you search what you want, you download it, and I know there's a ton of different sites out there that offer similar services, but I'm not, like I said, I don't like pirating. So before I get one, we'll do our research here, and we'll see what it is, because we have to be ethical. We can't do anything bad, and then we get laughed at by all our friends who are familiar with tech and then pirate everything. So that was a wild tangent as far as what I wanted to get into, which is Destiny 2. That's what I wanted to get into. It is, I don't know. We got the announcement of Destiny 2 last week. There was a teaser trailer. It came out on a Tuesday, and then we had the full announcement trailer released on Thursday. And I've been soured on Destiny as far as just a lack of content. We had the second game that got pushed back. It was supposed to come out last fall, and instead we got the very lackluster Rise of Iron, and then not much else. We had the December update, which brought back Sparrow Racing, and I don't think I've played since. Like I've done the Wrath of the Machine raid a few times. I found a pickup group, and that was fun. But I mean, I don't know. My Titan's not up to 400. He's sitting close. He's not quite there yet. And then, yeah, I mean, I ran out of things to do in the game, and so while it's fun, it's just, how much can you rehash the same stuff over and over again? I don't know. I know people who play WoW and do raids 3 nights a week and never get tired of it, but I don't know. Anywho, yeah, I wasn't feeling it, and I because of how they handled the content releases. Like while I love Destiny, I'm afraid of getting burned again. And then they released this teaser trailer with Cade Six talking in a bar about how the the last bastion of humanity, the tower and the city underneath the Traveler, have been invaded by the Cabal, and because Cade Six is voiced by Nathan Fillion and he can do no wrong. Like I can't think of a role that I've seen him in that I didn't absolutely love. The man he's a treasure. And sure enough, that little hype machine inside my head starts turning. It's like shit. It's funny. It looks good. It's engaging. Now, bear in mind, we have yet to see any actual gameplay. And I knew that we were going to be getting something soon because on the subreddit, somebody had found like a poster for it showing some terrible looking armor on the three different classes and the Destiny 2 logo. And there's speculation that, the last city has been attacked, and it makes sense from a lore perspective as far as, why what's going on with our characters is what's happening. So sum it up, when we get the second trailer, it is Cade Six and Zavala. Essentially the Cade Six is the class leader for the Hunters, and then Zavala is the class leader for the Titans. So there's only I don't know how far into this rabbit hole I want to get, but essentially they're very important people. And the Cabal, which was one of the enemy factions from the first game, has apparently pushed onto Earth and is now invading the last holdout of humanity. Because of what's happened in a very vague fashion, because Destiny's story is very poorly told, humanity is now reduced to essentially one city sitting underneath this cosmic entity called the Traveler, and we don't really venture out. There were cities on like Venus and Mars, and we had a colony on the moon, but we effectively have been pushed back. So the Cabal is a military empire of these big hulking brutes. Imagine like the Hulk, but with a gun, and far easier to kill. Has invaded this city and has burned everything essentially to the ground. And so the trailer is a very funny contrast between Zavala, who's a natural leader who can easily rally troops, with Cade, who is a charming rogue but has a very hard time rallying troops, and them explaining that the Cabal have invaded, they've destroyed the city, and there's this new enemy called Gaul, I think it is. And he's essentially our new big bad. But the reason it makes sense is prior, the developer Bungie had announced that the only thing that was carrying forward would be like our characters and their customization. So our items like our armor, our weapons, shaders, essentially everything that we had collected in the first game wasn't carrying forward into the second one. And everybody was super pissed. The reason for this was when the game was initially announced, it was going to be a 10-year project. And similar to WoW, where you get a new title or new expansion and all your stuff rolls into the next one and you keep going. Now, there's been a lot of debate and rumor as to why that changed, because a lot of it that people are thinking is because last-gen consoles, the game was initially released on Xbox 360 and PS3 as well as the PS4 and Xbox One. It was either Taken King or Rise of Iron where they stopped development on the 360 titles. 360 and PS3 titles. So moving forward, we're thinking Destiny 2 might be our new foundation that everything gets built off of, but time will tell. So effectively, they actually address it in the trailer that all your stuff is gone because it's all been blown up. And And the way characters store gear is in a vault on the tower, a vault in the tower. Now there is a workaround that people are thinking like, oh, we can actually cheese the story because if you go to another location in the game that's not on Earth, you can still get access at your stuff there. So they're saying we'll put all your stuff there and it'll be safe. But oh well, it's fun thinking. So all of our stuff's gone, or effectively going to have to start from scratch and fight the Cabal Empire. Now, the big complaint that I always had with the first game is that it was a lot of rehashing, and I know we have had the third year update come out, and I've yet to play it because it's essentially all the raids have been brought to current light tier, and you can rerun them and get new stuff and revised versions of classic weapons and armor, but I don't raid because I don't have time, and then I have to start collaborating with other people and getting on a same schedule. So I don't. While the raids are fun, it's too much hassle, as Brian Ibbett would say. So I don't know. But now that I'm talking about Destiny, I'm getting the itch, and I want to play. I want to play, and I don't have time to play because I've got so much shit to do. But you know what? That's the thing. I need to start making time. So, unfortunately, won't be covering it in the Zero Lives. Instead, we're going to go ahead and cover it with, I don't know. Maybe I can start streaming one day a night and just covering what I want to. But Zero Lives, I'm going to be moving towards more story-focused things because I think it's, I don't know, more entertaining. So, yeah, Destiny 2. It's coming out September 22nd or 28th, but it's going to be a day one buy for me. Although, I don't know. Because recently Mass Effect Andromeda came out, and I told myself that's going to be a day one buy. And because I don't know how to manage my own budget, I wasn't able to buy it day one, and I'm kind of glad that was the case because looking at the reviews, it looks just terrible as far as it's a big buggy mess. So I still haven't got it. I don't know when I will get it. I've talked to somebody that actually did get it, and they weren't terribly impressed. And this was somebody who loved the first three, like I did. So that's disappointing, and it makes me leery, especially with how poorly Bungie handled the first Destiny. Like, by all accounts, it was a train wreck, and only like a select few are still involved with the game and into it. So I'm very leery about that. But yeah, this is trailing off. Sorry. Ugh, so hungry. Craving food. Strength dwindling. Ugh. So, I was actually able to scrape together a full show. I'm shocked. I don't know how. Well, I know how. I had a lot to talk about despite not having my notes in front of me. So, the one topic I do remember that I wanted to address, despite the great phone loss of 2017, was superpowers. It's always a fun conversation to have as far as, like, if you could have superpowers, what superpower would you want? Like, everybody has, like, pick a superhero and you get their set. Like, do you want to fly? Do you want to turn invisible? You want to run really fast? Do you want to talk to fish? Stuff like that. But I think while, there's the obvious answers like invisibility, flight, like being able to fly would be fucking amazing, and being able to turn invisible leads you to be able to do all types of nefarious things. The one I'd want, and the reason for it would be Magneto. I would love to have his powers over magnetism. Now, the reason I say him specifically instead of like magnetism is because I'm not entirely sure how the science and the physics will all pan out if I just said like I would like to have the power of a magnet, and whereas Magneto, it's a defined power set as far as what his abilities are. He can bend metals, he can turn them into like a liquid state, he can fly, he can do all types of other things with it. He can even reverse like the polarity of the Earth. So that's why I say Magneto, and the reason for it is mostly because of driving. Whenever I'm driving and I get stuck behind somebody who doesn't know essentially what they're doing, or does something just terribly stupid, I think, man, if I had Magneto's powers, I would there would be so many cars just flying from the road into a nearby cornfield or building, and there would be a lot of dead people. It's all comes down to I hate the way other people drive and what happens. And I do think, well, what happens if there's a family, or it's that you can't punish them for the driver's mistake. And then I realize I hate everybody, and that we need another plague. So, hooray! Christian's a terrible human being, and he would definitely murder a lot of people that just aggravate him while driving. But there are other applications aside from just flinging cars off the road because they cut you off. My next favorite one would have been like sitting in a drive-through, where you're like 3 cars deep and the line's just not moving whatsoever, and you're thinking to yourself, the fuck did this asshole order? What did they order that it requires 15 minutes of us not moving, that the people inside have to whip together? And then you see it's like 4 bags of food, or maybe like the fry machine's broken and they're sitting there and they have to wait for it to get done. But typically the restaurant folks will go ahead and they'll say, oh, go ahead, pull up into this space, and they'll keep the line moving. But we've all been caught in that situation where it's just not moving. So if I had Magneto's powers, I would definitely like. Now this wouldn't be an offense like punishable by death, like cutting me off. Instead, I would very gently pick up the car in front of me, move it, 7-8 feet off to the right, and then just pull forward. And then like, oh hey, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I actually had the chicken quesadilla. Could you go ahead and oh great, all right, and then just be on my way. Other instance would be like trains, especially in the Midwest. There are a lot of trains that will cut off traffic for 10 to 20 minutes at a stretch. So there's 2 ways we could get around this. Either A, I could go ahead and just magically fly my car up and over, and get back on my way. Or if I'm feeling especially brave, I could actually bend the tracks so it forms like this little bridge that the train is then going over me, and I just get going. But the problem with the latter is that if I do it that way, I don't think a lot of people would, like, say I'm 3 cars back in traffic, I don't think they would start driving under a train whose rails have magically bent upward to allow the train to pass over the intersection. So I realize that the powers themselves would be used largely in my daily driving, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because with Magneto's powers I could fly. Like, why would I drive when I could fly? But it gets cold in Wisconsin, and I don't want to be outside and suffering the winds and all that. And then I can carry shit in my car. I don't want to be flying around with a backpack and like a duffel bag. It's silly. And what happens when I have my son? Like, sure, it's cool flying with him, but he's 3 now. He gets heavy after a while. I don't want to drop him as we're flying, or have to like if flying is like, well, no, because Magneto's flight is different from other superheroes' flight. So the way I always envisioned flying was that it's a physical exertion, much like running. And so if we could fly, it would be just as tiring as running. And eventually, people would get in shape because flying would be fucking amazing. But there would be a lot of people like flying maybe a quarter of a mile at the most, and then they have to stop and like they're doubled over, heaving. It's like, holy shit, that was hard. And but with Magneto, it's because he is using magnetism to propel himself off of other magnetic objects. So the science has never been really clear on that. Like I always thought, well, maybe if he had like metal plates in his gloves or his boots, he could use that to reverse it. But it's a given. Magneto can fly. But yeah, I would still use it mostly while driving my car. And then the paranoid side of my mind jumps in as far as, well, if I keep killing people on the road, eventually traffic cams are going to catch me. Like, there's always this Buick Enclave sitting behind these cars when they go mysteriously flying off in the distance. It's always the same license plate. It's always the same guy. And then before you know it, I have local law enforcement, if not the government, on me. Because they're like, oh, you have these amazing mutant powers. We're going to cut you open and experiment on you and figure out how you work so we can use it for our own benefit. And then I've got that whole thing. So while I would have the powers, I'd be afraid to use them because I don't want to have the hassle of dealing with people because of what I've done. Essentially, I don't want to face consequences for murdering innocent not even bystanders, just hapless individuals who happen to piss me off that day. So this is why I should never ever have superpowers because I don't know, it like that inhibitor would be taken off. And I feel it's the same for a lot of people. Like if we could live in a world without consequence, every person would behave drastically different. I really want to get into religion, but I have a very strict rule. I don't talk about religion. Just a lot of thoughts there, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. So yeah, I mean, if people could fly, well, the classic example of with the power of invisibility, like, oh, I'd always go into like the girls' bathroom and or I'd use it to rob a bank and other things like that. Like people inherently have only a desire to serve themselves. It's not a thing of I'm going to use my powers for good. It's people immediately think, how can I use this for myself? Like with Magneto's powers, I wouldn't. This reminds me. Oh man, speaking of living in the past here, somebody depending on where you live, there's the different pronunciation as far as like. I would say Magneto, and somebody else would say Magneto. And then you have Mario and Mario. Mario? I think it's Mario. Either way, it's super, super fucked up. Like, why are you pronouncing it like that? That's wrong. Sorry. I'm getting distracted by what's on my bookshelf. And, where the fuck was I going with? Oh yeah, so I could use the powers to, say like there's a natural disaster, a building falls. I could easily use my powers of magnetism to clean up rubble, look for survivors, help people. In my job, I could easily use it to run cable, lickety split. No more wall fishing, no more having to deal with that bullshit. If I'm having trouble finding a line, like, oh, I could just run my hand along the wall, like, boom, there's the line. I don't. While I could go full tyrannical dictator and try to overthrow a country, it's too much hassle. I very much like being kind of left alone, so. While it would be great to have Norwegian lesbians feed me grapes all day because of my powers, I can't deal with the thought of like, well, now I've got all these people after me. Like, I would use it for very mundane things just so I could stay under the radar. Like, I would have to limit the amount of cars I throw off into a soybean farm to like maybe one a quarter. Like I'd really have to like, fuck, do I want to use it on this guy? No, no, save it, save it. You never know what's gonna come up, and just really mundane shit uh, like winning coin tosses or becoming really good at darts. Just really petty bullshit. And I don't know. I don't know what that says about me as a person. Like, I'm smart for wanting to avoid the hassle of law enforcement and the government cutting me open and on me, or that I don't have the ambition to see the problems and obstacles and then devise a way to overcome them. Because I think when you get powers like that, it throws you into a whole other class. And again, we're working under the assumption that there are no other mutants, there aren't other people with powers. Like, I am an extreme outlier. That I can't kind of hide behind the masses or start a movement. It would be too much. Like, I'm already a very paranoid individual, and having to live with essentially my paranoia increased 1,000-fold because people know what I can do and are going to want to get in on that. It's not good. It's no bueno. It's almost like I want the powers, but at the same time, because of the hassle, I wouldn't want them. It's fun to think, though. And a lot of this is largely fueled by I have been watching Avatar and Korra lately. So, especially like in season 1 of Korra, if you're not familiar with it, with the series, is the basic premise is that people have superpowers in the sense that they can control one of 4 elements. You can either there's water, fire, earth, and air. And so, like, the fire people can shoot fireballs, or they can, light torches, and same thing with the other elements. And so there are derisions of that, like earthbenders can also bend metal, because metal is an element of the earth, and like firebenders can shoot lightning. It gets a little weird, but in the first season of Korra, there is the big bad is a fella called a Mon, who can supposedly take away a person's bending powers, so effectively they can no longer have superpowers. So it's interesting it very much parallels like the world of X-Men, where the people fear and hate them because they're different and they have superpowers, and I'm seeing a lot of that in this first season that I haven't watched in a few years. And so it's a very interesting story concept, as far as like we have these people with different abilities, how do regular folks react to them. It's kind of like what Zack Snyder's tried to do with this latest Superman iteration, as far as, oh, he has superpowers, and some people view him as a god, and other people view him as a monster, and they're jealous of what he has and what he can do. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say. I've been rambling for at least 45 minutes now. But yeah, what powers would you guys want? What powers would you desire? Why would you want them? Write the show, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. This is a perfect subject. Go ahead, write into the show, or hit us up on Twitter at theunwashedasses, because that's definitely easier than writing an email, because as we found out, people don't write email anymore. So again, either theunwashedasses@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter at theunwashedasses. And I'd like to read those next week, as far as what powers you would like and why you want them. Or you could just say, Christian, you're a terrible human being for wanting Magneto's powers purely for sole benefit and to whatever you want. And I got my phone. My phone came. Yay! I have my replacement phone. So I'm going to be spending the rest of this morning getting everything moved over and downloaded and reconfigured, and hey, I can get back into Twitch now, so Zero Lives isn't going to be a total shit show. So it's funny how everything kind of comes full circle there. So again, Unwatched Asses, we'll do that every Thursday, and check out Zero Lives. I'll be having that episode up later today. And of course, Friday Night Smite with myself, Mezzy, and Sapper Woody tomorrow night, Fridays, between 9 p.m. Central Time and 12 a.m. We'll catch you later.
I can feel the end, it's drawing near. It will soon be here. Oh, that much is clear. So shut the doors and turn off the lights. Let us sleep tonight. Let us huddle in the dark. Oh, my lover, you are beautiful, but that beauty comes at such a price. And I know that you'll soon disappear, like the dark and the night.